Thank you for your time. The questions I'm going to ask were formed by a group of Chicago teens who are interested in addressing and starting a dialogue about topics most important to our peers, neighborhood, community, Chicago, etc. We are still in the process of gathering feedback and data related to some of our questionnaire topics, and your answers and opinions are very important parts of this process. At the end of this survey, please give us feedback on how to improve this process for future interviews and suggest questions that you would like to ask your community. May I have your name?
My name is Alice Clay.
Okay. Which neighborhood of Chicago are you from?
I currently live in Auburn, Gresham.
Okay, and how long have you lived there?
I lived in Auburn, Gresham since I was in about 6th grade, so I don't know how old I was in 6th grade.
Okay, so everyone plays a role in their community, even if you think it's small. In your opinion, what's your role that you play?
In my community, I feel like I do play a small role. I feel like I'm the person to try to guide the misguided people onto the right track, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so homeless? Or...
No, not necessarily homeless, but in my neighborhood there are a lot of gangbangers and drug dealers. And when I was in elementary school, they attended my elementary school, so yes, I befriended them and I tried to this is not right, this is not right. So just try to do better. So I just have to push them to be better because it's not like they wanted to do that. I just feel like they were forced to do that because they didn't have any other option.
Okay, how have you been impacted by your community?
I feel like I haven't been impacted from my community that much because I feel like I know where I want to be in life, so why would I let where I'm from, time or weigh me down almost? So yeah, I know okay, so my community, it just makes me, it's just a reason for me to, move up in life.
Okay, how would your life be different if you lived in a different city or town?
I feel like for the most part my life wouldn't be different because I know how to okay, this is not right, so let me go this way. And I'm just the type of person I know how to decipher from wrong and right. So even if I did live in a bad community, I would still do what was right for me. So I feel like my life would still be the same.
If you could change anything about your community, what would it be?
So my community is very family oriented. I could live on this block and my cousin could live on the next block and their cousin could live on the next block. So I just feel like for the most part I would just want my community to be a little more unified because they tend to bump heads and then just break off. So just a little more unified.
How do you think your community is viewed by others?
A lot of people think my neighborhood is really bad, but it's really not. I just feel like from the outside looking in, it may look terrible and bad, but from the inside, it's just you understand why they do the stuff that they do. So it's not really bad. It's you just gotta be understanding. You wouldn't know if you didn't live in our neighborhood, so you can't judge a book by its cover.
Why do you think they view your community like this?
Because a couple of things happened in the past and they don't really happen anymore. So yeah, that's the reason why they view my neighborhood like that.
Okay, if you think this view is wrong or unfair, is there a way to change how your community is viewed?
I don't necessarily think it's wrong because the stuff did happen in our neighborhood, but I just feel like it should be a time where you should just let it go and just, pick up a new judgment. People change, neighborhoods change.
Okay. All cities have to deal with issues like violence. How does the issue of violence in Chicago compare to other major cities?
I feel like the violence in Chicago is different from the violence in any other city because for the most part, Chicago people, we are close. I just feel like we wouldn't let nobody, an outsider just come in our city and then just tear it up or just ruin it. For the most part, I just feel like something bad has to happen to Chicago as a whole for them to come together. So, and in other cities, I don't think other cities are like that for the most part. So, yeah. Did I answer the question?
Yes. Okay. Do you have any top any issues that or concerns that you think is wrong? Like, what are your major concerns?
About like the city of Chicago or just my neighborhood?
Both. Like city of Chicago.
Okay, so Chicago as a whole, I feel like some big major issues is that like we don't really pay attention to like the important stuff. Like the stuff that needs to be talked about, we don't talk about it. Like I just feel like we focus on other stuff that's so not important, and it just takes time away from the stuff that we really need to be focused on. And in my neighborhood, it's just the same thing. But it's like it's not our fault because it's just like that's not the way we were taught, but like in the media, that's all we see. So that's all we know. So we can't do no better. But I feel like we need to work on it. Like that's a really big issue.
Okay, if you're in charge of the media, what would you show? And what would you do to change the perception of how people view your community?
Okay, so if I was in the media, I really don't know. Cause like so far the media made our neighborhood look really, really bad. But they don't really know us. So I feel like if I was like a what you call it? Like
Broadcast.
yeah, like okay, so like somebody from the news, right? I would just try to like just stay in the neighborhood for like a couple of weeks, you know, try to meet some people and try to just like understand like the way that they think, the way that they move, what happened to them to make them think this way. Because I just feel like you can't really judge a person when you don't know the person. Like a lot of stuff happened to people that ruins the way that they think or just make their thinking process totally different. And it's like you wouldn't know that if you don't know them. So, yeah.
Okay. How do you see Chicago in the future?
Chicago in the future, I feel like it would be a little bit worse than it is today because I just feel like we're going down this path and it's just so wrong. Like I said before, like we just focused on stuff that we aren't supposed to be focused on. Like I just feel like so many teens and so many adults is still ignorant to like the real world issues that we face.
Is there anything to prevent this? Like Chicago getting worse?
Education, school, stay in school, go to school, read. Like it's just nothing more. Like the stuff that people get bullied about. Oh my God, why is she reading a book? Like, why she don't have this many followers? Like, does that really matter? It's like I just feel like you worry about the real stuff again. Like I said.
Okay. Are there any other questions that I did not ask you that you feel I should ask others in your community?
No, I feel like you asked her some. Let me ask some really good questions.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.